Hi everybody and welcome back to the Celtic Way YouTube channel. My name is Ryan McGinlay. Today I'm delighted to be joined by Scott Coyne, who is a Belgian football expert. We'll be talking about Celtic's opponents. Whenever you're watching this, it might be today, it might be tomorrow, when Celtic are playing Club Brugge in the Champions League. It's match day 5, I believe. I might be wrong. I think that's match day 5. I'm trying to think 4 games before then. Yeah, Celtic against Bruges at Celtic Park in the Champions League. Just a quick shout out before we get started. If you want to support our work by joining our YouTube members channel, just that little bit extra a month, £2.99, you'll receive early video access, priority comments, and exclusive members chat function. So, for example, if you were to become a YouTube member, you would get this video early. Because this comes out to the members before it comes out on general and on the YouTube channel. Scott, how you doing this afternoon? It's right now as we're speaking. It's just over, quite a bit over 24 hours until the game between Club Brugge and Celtic at Celtic Park. How are you feeling?
I'm good, Ryan. Nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, it's we've got plenty to discuss. Two teams that I think have done pretty well in the Champions League so far, and it's looking like it's going to be a really good match between the two sides. So, just first of all, how are Club Brugge playing at the moment? I noticed that they've got a change in manager. They changed the manager in 2024. How are they playing both domestically and in Europe, Scott?
Well, they're coming into this game in fine fettle, really. They had a good win at the weekend. They are a thumping 7-0 win over St Truden, which brings them to Glasgow, I think, in good confidence. They're sitting pretty in the league at the moment as well. They're in a good position. They're not top of the table, but for those of you who maybe don't know, in Belgium we have a rather curious system where after 30 league games the playoffs start, and this is where it gets really interesting. At that point, the points are halved. So in truth, it's all about managing your form if you want to win the Belgian title and not peaking too early. It's all about really what happens in those playoffs. You can come into those playoffs quite a bit off the pace and still win the title. And in fact, last year, during the regular season, Club Brugge actually finished 4th. Came into those playoffs a massive 19 points behind the leaders at that stage and went on to still win the title because the leaders at that point lost their first 4 playoff games and then had to deal with the points halving on top of it. So we've got a slightly wild system in the Belgian Championship, which unless you follow it closely is always a bit of a surprise to people. But they're right in the mix at the moment, sort of 5 points off the top. So they're sitting exactly where they would want to be to manage that form. They've had a really difficult Champions League draw in truth this season. The fixtures, the way they came out, the computer was pretty cruel to them on the whole. And after the game against Celtic, they're still to play Sporting Lisbon, Juventus and Manchester City. So it absolutely doesn't get any easier. I know it's a cliche, but there are genuinely no easy games at this level. I think the fixtures were a bit kinder to Celtic when they came out, certainly, which has allowed them to build up a head of steam. And this fixture's really nicely poised now. It's quite an even game in lots of respects, I think. Potentially very high scoring as well. Both sides play quite a similar system in a number of ways. So it'll be interesting tactically to see who blinks first.
That was the next question I was actually going to ask you, Scott. What sort of formation do Club Brugge play in under their new manager? Let me just get the name. I wrote it down last night. Is it Hayden's?
Nicky Hayne. Yeah.
I think it autocorrect for me there. I remember writing that, Nicky Hayne. What sort of formation does Nicky Hayne play in, and what style do they play in? Is it similar to Celtic, you were saying?
Yeah, it is pretty broadly similar to Celtic, which is what makes this game really, really interesting, I think. One thing to note is the away Champions League fixtures this season for Club. Nicky's been a little bit more cautious. He's tended to put out an extra defensive midfielder just to provide a bit of cover for the back four. Both of Club Brugge's wing backs, Maxim de Kuiper on the left and young Joaquin Cies on the right, Both really promising young talents, particularly De Kuiper, who's broken into the national team setup now recently as well. A lot of people following him. Yeah, he's been sitting an extra holding midfielder just in there just to provide a little bit of protection in them. Very strong front three, much like Celtic. I think the fullbacks for both sides are going to be really important in the way that this game ends up going in the end. They tend to press a lot in the midfield, Club Brugge, more so than any other side has done in the Champions League this season. Really interesting. I was looking at some stats the other day that said, the intensity of their presses in the midfield exceed any other side. So they do have a tendency sometimes to sit a little bit deeper, but then press you hard in the middle so that they can hit you. So they do pick their pressing moments. They're not a side who aggressively press, all over the pitch. They have very definite triggers for that, and usually they're midfield based as well. So a lot of it will depend on which players in the Celtic midfield maybe have the ball. That'll be the key for those midfield presses and triggers. A lot of players with good European experience in there as well. Players to watch out for. Club Brugge's captain, Hans van Aken. He's been there for 9 years now. Really influential player, both on the pitch and in the dressing room. Similar sort of figure in terms of his influence inside the club to perhaps Callum McGregor is at Celtic. Really, really important. Rarely missing. As well, and he's a really experienced player who's spent his entire club career in Belgium. Actually, plenty of opportunities to move on and develop his career, but has always been very happy in Belgium and has stayed there, and probably will finish his career in Belgium. So he's one to keep an eye out for as well. And I'm sure most of the Celtic fans will know Club Brugge's goalkeeper Simon McGinlay as well from his time at Liverpool. He, although in the kind of twilight of his career now, is still a very strong goalkeeper. He's very good in key moments in games still. So he's a good player, particularly at this level, and is absolutely a points winner for Club Brugge and can definitely make the difference in matches. He tends to save them points on a regular basis.
It seems as if the teams sort of mirror each other, because you talk about the Club Brugge captain, you also talk about Simon McGinlay. You could say the same for Callum McGregor and Kasper Schmeichel. Do you think this is a really even game then coming into this match day between Brugge and Celtic? Both are in kind of similar areas points wise. They'll both be pushing for the playoffs, hoping maybe for a top 8 finish, but it's a bit of an outside chance. The two teams are mirroring each other. Should that make for a good game at Celtic Park from when we're recording tomorrow night?
Yeah, I hope so. And I hope it's a high scoring game, because I think it has the potential to be that. It's pivotal for both sides, I think. Whoever wins this game will be sitting in a very good position to ultimately qualify from, the new format, league phase, the larger format. Will be in a really good position. And I think Club Brugge, looking at the remaining fixtures, I think will be aware that it's really important, I think, that they really try and have a go at Celtic and try and take this opportunity, because it is such an evenly matched game. Celtic obviously having home advantage, which is absolutely massive at this level, and particularly when you consider it's at Celtic Park, which has a reputation that kind of goes before it on European nights. So, how the game pans out will have a lot to do with how Club Brugge cope with that environment as well, because, a lot of really big sides bigger than Club Brugge have come to Celtic Park and really struggled over the years in the intensity of that environment. So they'll be relying on all the experience of players like Hans van Aken to play well in the night, I think, and to just be really supportive of some of the younger players in that Club Brugge side who have a lot of talent, but are coming into an environment that they won't have experienced on too many occasions so far. They've certainly played in big European games, but it's going to be noisy and it's going to be colourful, and the atmosphere is going to be pretty intense, I think. Looking forward to what I think could be a good game, and loads of really interesting tactical battles going on over the pitch and individual duels with players as well, tactically, I think.
Yeah, who do you think that Club Brugge will be watching out for from in a Celtic persuasion in their team? Will they be looking at the midfielders? Will they be looking at Nicholas Kuhn, who's Celtic's informed player this season? 22 goal involvements already, including 2 goals against RB Leipzig last time out. Who do you think they've sort of in their tactical analysis pre-Celtic, who do you think is the players that they've maybe stood out in their tactical analysis? Who are the players that they think that they'll need to watch out for and could maybe hurt Brugge, just given the matchups between the two sides?
Well, I think there's three players that, are going to require definitely close attention. Obviously, Nicholas Kuhn's one, who's in sensational form, performing at this level now as well, at the highest level. Dyson Maida on the other side as well, will have to be, reasonably effectively nullified. And Callum McGregor as well, three really important players for Celtic, particularly at this level. So they'll all be receiving a lot of attention, I think, from a tactical perspective from Club Brugge. But obviously, it'll be interesting to see who Brendan Rodgers chooses to start up front. You would imagine he'll go with Kyogo, just because of his technical ability and that little bit of pace that he's got. I think he has, a potential brilliance in him, and at this level, then that becomes really, really useful. Obviously, Adam Ida's an option for Brendan Rodgers as well, but I would expect him to kind of go with Kyogo. One thing to look out for from a Club Brugge perspective offensively is first choice striker Gustav Nielsen. Has been out injured for a while. Won't feature, haven't been expecting him to feature, so it's going to be between the Spanish striker Ferran Jutgla and the young Belgian striker Romeo Vermaat, who's a really exciting young player, really good technical ability. I think looking at what Nicky Ian's chosen to do so far in Europe, Jutgla will probably get the nod. But I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see Romeo Vermaat at some point in the game. But yeah, I mean, this is a much more evenly matched game than I think a lot of people realise. And, it's the little margins at this level. Who wins the most duels, who gets the better of each other in the transitions. That's really crucial at this level. In fact, most games are decided on, who gets the better in the transitions in play as well. So, an exciting night in the cards, I think, for both sets of fans.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the supporters going to the game tomorrow are really excited about that. And I think they're excited about the fact that how even the game is. They were going into the Leipzig game. Leipzig were the favourites. We've seen what they do in the Bundesliga year on year, and in the Champions League too. They really established themselves, but Celtic took the game to Leipzig. This game is more 50-50. They went into the Bratislava game. Celtic were the overwhelming favourites, just given the respective sides and how much each team paid for each player, etc. But this feels like a 50-50. Brugge maybe have the model that Celtic are looking to adopt, or to sustain in years and years to come. They've done really well in the transfer window and sort of rejuvenating their team year in, year out. So I think it's a very, it's an easy game on the eye and an exciting one, one that you like to see in the Champions League. Two traditional teams, you would say, that are looking to make inroads in the Champions League. And I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. Now, the manager that was previous to Nicky Ian was Ronny Deila. Now, Celtic fans will know him pretty well. He was manager of Celtic for 2 years. What, as an expert to Belgian football and to Club Brugge, Scott, what went wrong for Ronny Deila that this opportunity just didn't work? Because I know that he was at Standard Liège beforehand, so he had that grasp of Belgian football. It just didn't work out for the Norwegian at Club Brugge.
Yeah, well, Ronny obviously came back from the States to go to Standard Liège when he first came to Belgium. And Standard Liège have been having long-term financial issues for a number of years now, and have been trying to kind of rebuild. And as part of that, they were looking for a manager who fitted the kind of profile of the club and had the right personality for their own history and culture. And kind of Ronny fitted that, so he was actually quite a good choice there. Unfortunately, at Standard Liège, essentially there was no money to spend and very little wiggle room for really Ronny to work. But obviously the expectations don't lessen. Standard Liège, a big name in Belgian football, won a number of titles, really, really popular fan base, large fan base as well, very vocal. Great club, been on hard times for a while. And Ronny actually did quite well at Standard Liège, but I think the circumstances inside the club ultimately frustrated him, and he did attract the attention of kind of Club Brugge. I think they saw a coach there who fitted their mould in a different way, and I think that's why they became attracted to him. And you know, he jumped ship from Standard Liège in kind of unfortunate circumstances, really. There was a deal done pretty much behind the scenes, which was an open secret for longer than it should have been. And Ronny didn't come out of that kind of very well. There's a famous interview he gave in Belgium where he was asked very directly, are you going to Club Brugge next week? He said, no, there's nothing in that. And, you know, within a couple of days he was gone, which, I'm not sure I'll be able to walk the streets of Liège too safely. That won't be forgotten amongst the Standard Liège fans. So he went to Club Brugge because he's very ambitious. He said that. He said, look, the setup here is first class. You know, they've got excellent training facilities, sports science department. You know, it was an improvement on where Standard Liège were at that time. And it was really about Ronny's ambition. He comes into a club with more money, more potential. And in truth, Club Brugge have had a problem, you know, that's not unique to Ronny or even Nicky Hine at the moment for a number of years now, and that's just a consistency thing. They've had periods in the season where they've struggled to dominate sides and maybe get the points that their play deserves, you know, dropping points that they shouldn't, losing games that they shouldn't, things like that, you know, and it's frustrating because, you know, they came into the playoffs at the end of the last season having dropped far too many points, despite having done actually pretty well in Europe under Ronny. He had some really impressive results there. But that inconsistently domestically really is what hurt them, and they decided to make the change. And what happened was they brought in Nicky Hine, who was already actually at the club. Nicky was coaching with the development side, which is called Club Next, which plays in the Challenger Pro League, which is the division below the top flight in Belgium. Nicky had been in coaching them. They brought Nicky in on a temporary basis just as the playoffs were about to start, and a little bit of magic happened for him. Union Saint-Gilloise lost their first 4 games, much to everybody's surprise, and club went on to win 9 of their 10 games, including both of their fixtures against Union Saint-Gilloise. And because of the points having as well, they managed to win the title in the end. So it was going to be very difficult not to offer Nicky Hine the job on a permanent basis after that. And he's still in post. And generally, the players have been responding better to him in terms of consistency than they did under Ronny Deila. So obviously the atmosphere is different inside the camp for whatever reason. And yeah, so he'll be coming to Glasgow with the squad. I suspect they'll be on a plane roundabout just now in terms of recording. I'm about to head out to the press conferences in a little while. I'll be at the game tomorrow as well. So I'm kind of looking forward to taking in all the action. But yeah, Nicky Hine's taken full advantage of a really exciting and big opportunity coming his way that he probably didn't expect.
Yeah, he's done a really good job considering, you know, the fact he came in as an interim manager. Club Next or Club NXT was what I was going to ask you about, you know, because that's where Arne Engels came through. I don't think he ever played for the senior team at Club Brugge, but he came through the Club NXT and then moved to Augsburg. How important has that been, having that B team just in the league before? The Pro League in Belgium. How important has that been in terms of developing players like Arne Engels? I know he didn't make that big breakthrough into the first team, but even selling them on or making these professionals and then them going on to other things or coming into Club Brugge's first team, is that a really important sort of gateway for those players playing in the league below, learning the geography and then coming into the first team?
Yeah, it is pretty much for all sides in Belgium. The academy system in Belgium is generally extremely strong. The academies are really good. A lot of good coaches, they work in there, doing a lot of really good work. And the pathways for player development in Belgium are generally excellent. It's one of the reasons why it's one of the best leagues to play in if you're a young player, because you will get opportunities. And you will get opportunities in the senior side, you know, as well, which obviously is important. And if you do well again, obviously the chance of you getting a big move quite early in your career is very much a strong possibility for you. And we see that happening quite a lot. Clubs, because of the not the lack of TV money, but the minimising of TV money and issues with revenues elsewhere in Belgian football mean that the general model is developing as many young players as possible through the academy, giving them a pathway, developing them, and then selling them on for hopefully a really big fee. And this summer, coming into the start of this season, we saw record transfer fees being made by Belgian clubs on young players, and that's going to continue to be the model in the future. So there's a really strong pipeline, and it is a pipeline coming through a lot of the clubs of young players getting their opportunities. It's obviously slightly different in Celtic's case. They would like to be able to do that, but the demands of winning, every game at Celtic are quite different to what they are to even some of the bigger clubs in Belgium. But yeah, Club Next's academy is one of the finest in Belgium. There's no doubt about that. Arne Engels came through that system. He took the decision personally to leave very, very early in his career, actually. He probably would have got an opportunity and a pathway through to the senior side at Club Brugge. And in fact, when Arne was still there, the head coach of the senior side was a certain Philippe Clement. And he did say kind of quite publicly while he was still there that he thought Arne was one of the best young players he'd ever seen in Belgium. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to bring him through into the senior side because at that point, obviously, moves were already afoot for him to kind of go to Germany. So he never got that opportunity, but that was more to do with Arne's own choice. And it's turned out to be a very good decision because he was playing regularly in the Bundesliga at a very good level under a good coach there, under the Dane Jes Thorup, before being tracked for Celtic for a long time. And obviously being at Celtic gives him a different kind of platform to develop even further on, a big European stage with those guaranteed Champions League games and developing under a coach of the calibre of Brendan Rodgers.
I know you're a bit pressed for time. You need to make the press conference that's happening very, very soon. So I'll wrap up these final few questions, sort of roll them into one. Just in terms of the fans that are going to the game tomorrow night, what sort of crowd are you expecting? And for those fans, what are they expecting from their team tomorrow night? Are they confident going into this game? Are they pessimistic? I'd think they'd be pretty confident after that last result against Aston Villa. Just on the fans, what sort of crowd would you be expecting coming to Celtic Park? And what do they think that the score's going to be? What's the mood around Brugge at the moment?
Well, I think they're feeling quite good about it, looking forward to the trip. I think there's quite a lot coming over. I think there'll be around 4,000 at the game. They've taken up all of their allocation, so they'll fill the away enclosure at Celtic Park. I think the fans see this as a very winnable game as well, much like the Celtic fans do. So I think they come travelling in great expectation. Which is interesting because obviously they've had some disappointments on the road so far. Losses to Milan and kind of Dortmund, and they got that good win over Aston Villa, and they managed to beat Sturm Graz as well, which certainly that one was a must win for them. That was expected. Aston Villa didn't play very well in the night actually, which kind of helped Club Brugge a lot. But yeah, they come in great expectation. I expect them to be in reasonably good voice as well, and I think they'll enjoy the experience of a European night under the lights at Celtic Park, like most supporters do.
Yeah, a quick prediction from yourself, Scott. What do you think the score is going to be tomorrow? Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but what do you think the score is going to be tomorrow between Celtic and Club Brugge?
I think Celtic are going to edge it. I think the home advantage is going to tell. So I can see Celtic winning, perhaps either 2 or 3-1.
I'll take that. I think the rest of the Celtic support would take that result, especially due to earlier results. Borussia Dortmund, that thumping 7-1 defeat. The fact that they've managed to stabilise is not a miracle, but it shows the good work that Brendan Rodgers has done to sort of stabilise the European run. And yeah, that'd be great, especially with the way that Celtic are playing at the moment. Big fixtures coming up. Where can Scott? Thank you very much for coming on this quick episode today. Where can people find you if they haven't already found you? I know you're a Scottish voice talking about Belgian football. Where can they find you if they want to learn more about Belgian football and all that has to offer?
Yeah, well, you can find me in a variety of places. I'm part of the three-man team that produces the Belgian Football Podcast, which is a weekly show which covers all the latest news and action across the Belgian footballing landscape, both the top division, the division below, and the national team. So you can find us on Twitter, stroke X, whatever you want to call it, at Belgian Podcast. You can also find me on Twitter and X at Scott_Coyne, and you can also find my independent football consultancy. I do some work for players and agents and clubs as well, mostly with a Belgian focus, at Coyne Consultant. So if you want to stay up to date with Belgian football coverage, which is independent, by the way, we're not focused in any one club. We're interested in everybody all of the time, and English is your main language, then it's definitely worth checking us out.
Yeah, perfect, especially if you're looking for a bit of a preview on Cercle Brugge as well, who play Hearts on Thursday. There's been a lot of Belgian influence this season, from Arne Engels to Cercle Brugge playing Kilmarnock, and then Hearts to Celtic playing Club Brugge. Yeah, it's been a good sort of relationship this season. It's going to take another turn tomorrow night. It's Tuesday as we record just now, so tomorrow night I think everybody's looking forward to the game at Celtic Park under the lights. Match day 5 between the two sides. Who's going to come out on top? It's going to be a great atmosphere. I think everybody's looking forward to sampling that. We're both going to the game, so we'll both look forward to sampling that great atmosphere. Scott, thank you very much for coming on this afternoon. I really do appreciate it. Hopefully the rest of your media commitments are okay. I know you'll be very busy at this time when a Scottish team play a Belgium team, but thank you so much for coming on.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Great talking to you, Ryan. Enjoy the game.
Thank you very much. Thanks very much, guys, for joining us. If you want to support us a little bit more, you can join our YouTube members channel for just £2.99 a month. With that, you'll receive early video access, priority comments, and exclusive members chat function. £2.99 a month. Click that join button if you're on a desktop and become a member to the Celtic Way YouTube channel. Thank you so much to everybody for watching. Hopefully you all enjoy the game whenever you're watching this, either tomorrow night, tonight, in a couple of hours' time. And yeah, we will be, just stick with us for pre and post-match content with regard to Celtic and Club Brugge. Thank you very much, guys, and we hope you all enjoy the game when it comes around. Cheers.